her as a personal favor, like a gift, to console her, to give her some information. But it wasn't guidance, it wasn't teaching her anything new, a new sharia or anything like that. That's why she didn't teach us anything. Otherwise, if it was a book of law, she would have come and taught it to us all. We would be obligated to actually know what's in the Musaf. It's a secret book, no one knows what's in it. Sometimes we have a hadith where someone will say, so-and-so told me that Sayyidah Fatima read this particular saying out of her book. And so we might have little bits and pieces like that, but we don't have any knowledge of what's in that book.
So when you mentioned that, a layman, if you will, would be able to receive some sort of divine inspiration from dreams or something like that?
It's possible. It most likely depends on your own righteousness. If you're a pure righteous person, you don't have to be a scholar necessarily to be righteous. Sometimes you have scholars who are not righteous. And just because you have knowledge doesn't mean that you're pure. I might know a lot of things, I might read a lot of books, but I might be a really jealous person, just a terrible person. My akhlaq might be awful, I might treat my family badly. Right? So they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
So but then it's up to the person themselves to figure out whether it's like you said, like a mashup of ideas or an actual inspirational.
Yeah, I don't know anything about dreams except that it's possible that people see them. Let's just take one last question.
What's the narration about Jesus' marriage? Did he get married? Isa, according to our scriptures?
There's nothing in the Quran. I don't even know if we have anything in Ahadith. I've never seen anything that indicates that Jesus was married.
And the figure of Mary Magdalene that the Christians sometimes mention, is that just a means of demeaning his high status?
Again, we don't have any mention of her at all. And Joseph and Mary Magdalene, we don't have any evidence of their existence in our Ahadith.
Yesterday you mentioned about talking about the Prophet Isa salam, lifting him up. I think you were talking to Adam salam about sending him down. Is it the same concept, just spiritually?
It's not just spiritually. It's something bodily. For Jesus, it's definitely a bodily, as a person, soul and body together, he was lifted up. Where he is, we don't know. For Adam salam, it's not totally clear where he was. We're told in a hadith, Imam Sadiq has a hadith where he says that the Jannah in which Adam was, the garden, it's not a garden of the hereafter. Because the gardens of the hereafter, the paradise of the hereafter is eternal. Once you go there, you never come out. It's bliss and it never ends. Whatever garden, he says the garden was a garden of this world. Which, again, we don't know if it actually exists on earth. People always claim that Sri Lanka, and all these different places, they say this was where Adam was put down. But we don't know that, whether it was on Earth or it was part of this world, or it was on another planet or another realm or what. We don't really have any details for exactly where the paradise was. Yeah, they use hubut there. Yeah.
My second question is, brother and Sunni brothers and sisters are called them Mustala because they were never exposed to the truth of the history of Karbala, of the truth, everything. Do they fall in the same category as Mustala?
Alright, so she's asking to people who don't know about the truth, they count as Mustala. Mustala means people who are kind of restricted in their understanding. They have limited knowledge because it could be because of, for instance, mental retardation. A mentally retarded person is not responsible for the truth because he doesn't have mental faculties to understand it. It could be something external, like say he lives in a time when, for instance, a government rules and it doesn't allow him to know the truth. It controls what he learns or what books he can read and stuff, and it doesn't allow him to know the truth. Or there's such propaganda against Islam, for instance, that even if they try it, all they learn is lies. And so any of those are some examples of Islam. Absolutely. We don't know. That's the judgment that God makes, whether a person actually qualifies as that. Because if he qualifies like that, then the standard to which he's judged is very low. Right? Whereas if a person, the more knowledge you have, the more exposure you have to the truth, the higher the standard is against which you're judged. And so someone who never has even heard about Islam, but he's a good Christian, he knows about Christianity, and whatever he knows of the Bible, he practices it as much as he can. That person in God's eyes is going to be righteous, and it's possible God could save him, put him in paradise. If, again, Allah knows the circumstances, if he had never had exposure to anything more than that, and with good intention he did whatever he could to be a good Christian, or a good Jew. The cutoff line for that is shirk. If someone's a polytheist, then God says He will never forgive them. But at least like Christians and Jews, people who are monotheistic, they do seem to qualify for this in the Quran. Let me share one short story from the Quran. Close. This is possibly a happy ending to the story. This is kind of the end of the story of Karbala. You've probably heard of Mukhtar. Mukhtar was he was one of the leaders of Kufa who was imprisoned just around the time Imam Hussein was coming to Kufa. And so most likely he was the first person when the Muslim went to Kufa. It was Mukhtar's house that he went to make his hideout. Right, that's where he started. And once it became too dangerous to stay there, he moved to Hani ibn Urwa's house. And before he was finally captured and killed. So Mukhtar was a supporter. Because he was in prison, he couldn't participate in Karbala. Afterwards, about 5 years later, he launches this movement to go back and atone for Karbala, to go and track down every single one of the Kufans and kill them. Okay? So this is a little bit about his movement and how he was able to catch certain people. لما فرغ المختار من القتال الذين خالفوا من أهل الكوفة. He basically succeeded in tracking down and killing the vast majority of the people from Kufa who participated in Karbala. وجه إبراهيم ابن مالك الأشتر لقتال عبيد الله بن زياد. He calls on one of his companions. His name is Ibrahim. He's the son of Malik al-Ashtar. Right? So you know Malik al-Ashtar, the companion of Imam Ali, right-hand man of Imam Ali. Someone about whom Imam Ali said, he's to me the way I was to the Prophet. That's Malik al-Ashtar. This is the son of Malik al-Ashtar. He sends him to go and track down Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad and kill him. فَسَارَ إِبْرَاهِيم لِثَمَانٍ بَقِيَةٍ مِنْ ذِي الْحِجَّةِ in 66. So the year 66 Hijri, in the month of Dhul-Hijjah, Ibrahim, he sets off for Syria to track down Ubaydullah. وَبَعَثَ الْمُخْتَارِ مَعَهُ وُجُوهَ أَصْحَابِهِ وَفُرْسَانَهُمْ وَذَوِ الْبَصَائِرِ مِنْهُمْ. And he sends an army alongside with Ibrahim of really outstanding people, his best companions, his best soldiers and so forth, to go and help him. And these were people who had also participated in Mukhtar's other movements. One narration says, إِنَّهُ خَرَجَ فِي تِسْعَةِ آلَافٍ. He had 9,000 men with him when he left to track down Ubaydullah. Another narration says there was 12,000 people. 12,000 soldiers and an army to go and track down Ubaydullah. وسار إبراهيم ابن الأشتر من الكوفة الشمال. He headed north first from Kufa حتى لاقى جيش عبيد الله بن زياد الذي وصل إلى الموصل. So when he finally caught up with Ubaidullah's army, it had reached the city of Mosul in modern day Iraq. وكانت أعداده 30,000 أو 83,000. Different narrations say that the army of Ubaydullah was either 30,000 or 38,000 people to their 12,000 or 9,000. وحصلت معركة حاسمة. It was a very intense war that ensued between the two. تطاحن فيها الفريقان بالرماح. They engaged with spears. ثم تضاربوا بالسيوف والعمد. And they fought with swords. And he just describes the intensity of the fight. وكان إبراهيم في طليعة جيشه. Ibrahim, these righteous commanders, they didn't sit back in the back and just wave flags and say, you go fight. And he was right in the front, on the front lines. He was fighting right in the front of his army. Like the Prophet, like Imam Ali, they would fight at the front. They wouldn't be in the back commanding people. They would be on the front lines, fighting themselves. فَكَانَ لَا يَذْرِبُ رِجَالًا إِلَّا سَرَعًا. He was intense in his fighting, and he was killing one person after another in the